That number, $31,200, is roughly what the average US freelancer leaves on the table every year. Not because they're bad at their work, because they're bad at 5 specific financial decisions that nobody warned them about. I made all 5. And by the time I noticed, I had a $14,000 tax bill, no savings, and a client roster I was actually losing money on. This video is about the math behind those mistakes and what fixing them actually looks like. Most freelancers price their services. Almost none of them price their business. Here's what I mean. Say you charge $75 an hour. That sounds reasonable. But before you touch that money, you owe self-employment tax. That's 15.3% on the first $160,200 of net earnings as of 2024, per the IRS. Federal income tax on top. State tax if you're in California, New York, or most other states. On a $75 rate, after SE tax alone, you're keeping closer to $63. After federal income tax at the 22% bracket, and many working freelancers hit that, you're down to roughly $49 an hour. You quoted 75. You kept 49. That's a 35% invisible pay cut. The fix isn't complicated. It's a tax-adjusted rate floor. Before you quote anything, calculate your after-tax target. Then work backward. We have a rate calculator linked below that does this in about 4 minutes. Here's where almost everyone gets the arithmetic wrong. A freelancer who earns $8,000 in March and $2,000 in April has an average monthly income of $5,000. So they budget like someone who earns $5,000 a month. But they spend like someone who earns $8,000 because that's when the money arrived. This is called the spending to peak income problem. And it's why freelancers with 6-figure gross revenue often report that they feel broke. The data backs this up. A 2022 report from the Freelancers Union found that 63% of freelancers cited inconsistent income as their primary financial stressor, higher than taxes, higher than late payments. The fix is what I call a salary floor, not a budget, a floor. You calculate the lowest earning month from your last 12, subtract 20% as a buffer, and pay yourself that number every month. Flat. Surplus goes into a holding account. You draw from the holding account in lean months. It turns variable income into something your nervous system can actually plan around. More importantly, it stops you from making spending decisions based on money you haven't earned yet. But here's the part that takes this from uncomfortable to serious. And it involves a number most freelancers have never actually calculated. Let's say you book 25 billable hours a week at $75. That's $1,875. Times 50 working weeks, roughly $93,750 a year. Respectable. Now let's count your actual working hours. Client emails, proposals you didn't win, invoicing, bookkeeping, the 45 minutes you spent chasing a payment that was 3 weeks late, the time you spent reading this kind of content, trying to figure out how to run your business better. Industry surveys consistently show that freelancers spend 30–40% of their working time on non-billable tasks. MBO Partners' 2023 State of Independence report puts administrative overhead for independent professionals at roughly 15 hours a week. So you're working 40 hours, getting paid for 25. Your actual hourly rate on total time worked isn't 75. It's 46.87. That's before taxes. After the tax math from mistake number 1, you're closer to $30 an hour for 40 hours of work. In 2024, the median hourly wage for all US workers is 23, so you're ahead. But you're also carrying your own health insurance, your own retirement, and 0 paid time off. The gap needs to be much wider to make the economics of freelancing actually work. This leads directly to mistake number 4, which is the one that surprised me most, because it feels responsible when you're doing it. Keeping your rates flat for long-term clients feels like relationship maintenance. It feels like gratitude. It's actually a slow salary cut. US inflation averaged 4.1% in 2023 and 8% in 2022, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you've held your rates flat for 2 years, you've already absorbed a real income reduction of somewhere between 6% and 12%, depending on the year you locked in. On $93,150 gross revenue, that 12% gap is $11,250 a year. In 2 years, you've given a long-term client a $2,500 discount. They didn't ask for it. You didn't offer it. It just happened because you didn't raise your rates. Here's what makes this worse. The clients most likely to accept a rate increase are your best, longest-term clients because they know your value. The research on freelance pricing backs this up. According to a 2022 & Fiverr survey, 73% of freelancers who asked for a rate increase received it, in full or in part. Most freelancers don't ask because it feels risky. But the real risk is not asking. The script I use is 3 sentences. I'll put it in the description. But first, mistake number 5 is the most structural of all 5, and it's the one that took me the longest to see. When you work a staff job, taxes are invisible. They leave before the money lands in your account. Your W-2 net is already the number you can spend. A freelance invoice is the gross, every dollar of it. And because it arrives as one lump, it triggers something psychological. It feels like income. It isn't. About 25–30% of it, depending on your bracket and state, is a tax liability you're holding for the IRS. The IRS expects quarterly estimated payments due in April, June, September, and January. Miss them, and you pay a penalty. The federal underpayment penalty rate in 2024 is 8%. That's not a fine for being late. That's essentially a loan you took from the government without asking. But the underpayment penalty is the small problem. The big problem is what happens when you've spent the tax money. That's how a freelancer with $90,000 in gross revenue ends up with a $14,000 bill in April and nothing in the account to cover it. Not because they overspent on luxuries, because they never separated tax money from spendable money. The fix is a dedicated tax reserve account, a separate account, not a separate mental category. Every time an invoice clears, move 28–30% out immediately. Don't look at it. It was never yours. That single habit is worth, on average, for a freelancer at the $75,000–$100,000 gross level,